What are you saying, bro? You ready for another lesson?
Man, I can't wait, man. It's been a while, So.
That's a screw.
You can even tell already, you know?
Hey, right rudder, that's it.
Wheel 01, you can backtrack now.
Need to be over the field in between the two.
Alright.
What do you know about increasing the angle of bank?
Source speed.
Exactly.
You're fine, you're on the centre line, and then suddenly you're not, bro.
Next time you're in a grass, bro.
That landing. Whew. I'm worn out.
Are you aiming to be a commercial pilot?
Yes, at some
Right.
point.
Yes. So these calls, they have to be made in a commercial environment. Well done, mate. You're gonna make a good commercial pilot.
Thank you.
I'll walk up behind the aircraft.
You're very behind the aircraft. We've got a fuel leak. Have we? Yeah.
By the way, got to the whiskey, sorry, which is quite strong. You're gonna make a good commercial pilot.
You still have control.
No, you tell me when you want to take control. You tell me when you want to take control.
Ever? Do I have to?
Yes. Because I say so. Bear in mind, you're going to have to work with what you've got, normally. What do you need?
That's what I'll make use of what I've got.
Previously on Future Pilot 901.
Okay, how you feeling?
Feeling good?
Good. You're gonna go solo.
Okay. Student Will 08 is ready for departure. We're off.
Student Wheel 08, surface wind is 330 at 9 knots, we've got one to vacate.
Student Will 08.
Charlie Kilo is right base, get out to land. Student Wheel 08, minute takes and well done.
This aircraft is so nice to flow with.
Yeah, very nice.
Victor Golf, Kid 20 starting Victoria airspace now in the climb altitude 3,000 feet, heading 090 degrees.
Yes, 3,000 feet is very nice and smooth.
Yeah.
It's not like in the cloud.
Resume our location, Sierra November. December, proceed to report on localized established.
The whole point of getting your IMC is you fly clouds. That's sort of where we are roughly. See?
Okay.
So we came in for an approach on runway 23. We did a missed approach, and now we're being vectored around to do another approach into runway 23.
Ever since I was a kid, I had a dream of becoming a pilot, but could never afford it. One day I decided to stop making excuses, to sacrifice my comfort, to make my dream happen. My name is Dee, and this is my journey. This is Future Pilot 901. Yes. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's up, people? Welcome to Future Pilot 901 live on Kick and YouTube, brought to you every Monday 7 p.m. British summertime. My name is Dee, and I'm your host or your captain for today. Of course, Future Pilot 901 is all about keeping our fingers on the pulse of general aviation. So we've got a few things to look at today. But first, happy Monday and welcome to you. You made it. Come on. We made it. We're here. We are here. I have to tell you, it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. It's good to be alive and well, and to have the opportunity to go after my dream. I don't know about you guys, but that's great, man. Even though I was a bit lazy today. There's always tomorrow. So if you don't know, I've got a private pilot's license, so I fly for fun. I've been flying with families, friends. I've got videos on YouTube. If you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Be subscribed to my YouTube channel. But I also have clients. I won't tell you in what capacity because I know what the internet's like. But I support clients to help them make their lives better, right? That's part of my job. I'm going to remain vague. And one of the things that I do tell them, especially when you're trying to learn a new way of being, you're trying to push forward, right? Sometimes it's a bit like a child, like a baby, like a little human learning to walk, right? And you take these little steps, you struggle to stand up and to balance, and maybe you're trying a new morning routine, or maybe you're trying a new bedtime routine, or a new study routine, or even just to get yourself to crack open a couple of books so that you can actually progress towards your dreams. Sometimes it feels like we're trying to find our balance, and then we fall down, and maybe your diet goes out the window. Maybe you completely forgot that you even have a morning routine, right? But one of the things I try to tell my clients, and one thing that I do try to practice myself, is remembering that actually strength is built in getting back up. Strength is built in getting back up. Like a child learning to walk, right? If they fall down, I mean, any good parent won't just go, do you know what? You fell down. Just stay down. Just stay down. There's no point you trying. You fell down. Just stay down. Yeah, I'm sure we wouldn't say that's a good parent, right? So sometimes we will fall down, and that is, I'm not going to go as far as saying that's okay, but I'm going to say that's human, right? And in getting back up, in reminding yourself that you have got a routine, in reminding yourself that, the dream that you're going after, that in itself brings strength. And so there is power in actually forgetting. Sometimes when we learn something, we're so focused on remembering, and we forget that it's useful to forget something and have to remember it. It's actually good for your brain. So what do we have in today's flight bag? Before we kick off fully, I just want to remind you guys, I just want to remind you guys, if you would like to get yourself a free Live Your Dream hat in the classic black, the cool blue, or my favorite white, then make sure you drop the words Live Your Dream in the chat to enter a draw. Okay, the draw will be done in October next month. So you got all of September to get your name into the draw. Last week we had 1, 2, I'd like to say 3 people entering the draw. So get yourself in, write Live Your Dreams, and you would be in with a chance of winning yourself a Live Your Dream hat, color of your choice. And it's funny sometimes when I wear the hat, I go out in public. And, you know, it really does check me, right? Because sometimes, so I'm wearing this hat, Live Your Dreams, and obviously people are like, maybe like looking up at me and reading and, you know, trying to figure out what does it mean or what does that say? And meanwhile, I'm in a bad mood and screw facing, right? And I look at them, why are they looking at me? Why are they looking at me? Oh yeah, says Live Your Dream. That checks me. I actually then put a smile on my face and actually represent myself better. So there you go. It's a nice way to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay, people, I see you watching. I see you quiet in the chat. I see you. Drop a message in the chat. Let me know how you are doing. Right. Imagine you're flying and you have an engine failure. And there are no fields to land in. No fields to land in. What do you do? What do you do in that situation? Well, apparently, there's only one thing to do, if possible, which is land on the highway, apparently. Let's check it out. Around the corner as well. That is crazy. That is correct. Like, first of all, to the pilot, I don't know if they made a stupid mistake earlier, like, I don't know, not changing the fuel tanks and selecting the correct fuel tank. Forgetting all of that, let's just talk about that emergency landing. Yeah. That was crazy, but very well executed, especially around the corner. Madness. So, got a few things I want to talk about today. And of course, like I've told people before, this is a good way for me to be accountable. There's a bunch of stuff that I should really be staying on top of. But somehow I don't do what I'm supposed to do. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced it, but my mind is like a wild horse. And trying to get myself to do something, sometimes the right things that I know to do, sometimes I don't do it. And so I figured out that if I have a live show, I can make the things that I'm supposed to be reading and paying attention to part of the live show, and that gives me accountability. And so far, we are 12 weeks in. 12 episodes in. This is episode number 12. We've made it, man. Ah. Actually, I lie. This is episode number 11. It's episode number 11, but 11 weeks of consistency so far. And I think of it a bit like kind of peer study, right? So if you do have certain things that you want me to pay attention to, make sure you drop it in the chat because I will take your suggestions on board, right? And it's a bit of peer study. Sometimes getting the information in a slightly different format can be a little break from, you know, hitting the books or reading through the web pages. It's just a different way of processing, right? A bit more of a social way of processing, which can help with the learning. With that said, let's have a look at what else is in our flight bag. So today, definitely want to look at some updates from the AAIB, which is the Air Accidents Investigation Branch. They've got a couple of updates that's come out. Also, over the last few episodes, we've been looking at this book, Performance Pilot, and it's all about improving your performance as a pilot. So if you've missed some of that, you can definitely catch the episodes on the YouTube. On Kick, I think it deletes the episodes after 30 days. So yeah, you're going to have to get yourself onto the YouTube if you want to catch up to the previous episodes. We've looked at quite a few interesting topics, but I guess it's about what, a third through the book. And again, this is part of my accountability. I can read some of this, and because I have to share it with you guys, I end up reading it probably on a Monday in the daytime. So yeah, you got to trick your mind, apparently. That seems to be the way forward. Right. So look, I've had this kind of situation before where you're on final or you're flying, and suddenly an aircraft appears out of nowhere and jumps in front of you. What do you do? Well, let's find out. Let's check it out.
Licensed pilot. And what do you do when another plane cuts you off while landing? This actually happened to me on camera. Unfortunately, the other aircraft is not visible in this video. I was on short final in a rented Cessna 150.
Okay, who thinks that this guy just made a video pretending that there was an aircraft in front of him? Who thinks that's possible? Because we can't see the aircraft. Apparently it's too small to see. Could it be possible that he's just making content? Could it be possible? I don't know. But maybe we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay. Rajesh says go around. All right. Fair. Let's go back to it. Wait 1 second. I've got somebody. Okay, I've got somebody to ban. I like banning. Let me. I've got people to ban. Wait, ban this account. You're gone. You're barred. Bye. You can't talk in my chat anymore. Right, let's go back to it. Let's see. Did they go around? Is Rajesh correct?
I'd made all the right radio calls, flew the circuit properly, nothing out of the ordinary. Then, another aircraft turns onto final, right in front of me. No radio call, no heads up, just cuts in. This is one of those moments where people panic. But as a pilot, you can't afford that. You've got to stay calm. So I did a go around, power in, carby cold, climbed out and kept my eyes on the traffic. Just fly the plane. This is why you always need to scan. And this is why staying calm in the cockpit matters. It gives you space to think, adapt, and stay in control. Doesn't matter how many hours you have. Go arounds are always the right call when something doesn't feel right. I'm like.
There you go. So apparently Rajesh was correct. Go around. In fact, whenever I fly, when I'm on final and I put the car beat away, I usually put the car beat away and say I'm ready for a go around. Because one of the things I realized that I did back in the day when I was doing my PPL lessons is I was kind of committed to landing without kind of considering go around. So I was just kind of tunnel visioned. I'm going to land. as opposed to kind of, okay, if this is not good, I'm going to go around. So now I actually tell it to myself as I put the car beat away. I say, car beat away, ready for go around, just so it's programmed in my mind. Just so it's programmed in my mind. Right. So those were your quick updates. Now let's get this show started. Yay. Yay. I like this. Every approach is a go around with an opportunity to land. I like that mindset. I really like that mindset. Yeah, because you're kind of preset to go around and only land if it's safe to do so. Having said that, one of the things that can be a hazard is messed up go around. Some people, that does happen, that can cause accidents. So it's very important to be up on your go around procedures, particularly when you're deploying, you're on full flaps and taking off drag flaps, and then positive rate, safe speed, next notch of flaps up, and that kind of thing. So as long as your go around technique is good, then you can safely apply this philosophy. But I really like it, so thank you for sharing that. And that's what it's about, man. It's about sharing these ideas, because sometimes we all have little pieces of information, little rhymes, little ideas, philosophies that can actually help us be better. But if we keep it to ourselves, then we don't really give others the opportunity to grow, and then we also can't really take in from others. So I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you very much. So, AAIB update. What updates do they have for us this week? So there's a couple of anniversaries, actually. Let's have a look. First off, Golf Charlie Mike Golf Bravo. What happened with Golf Charlie Mike Golf Bravo as a sports star SLM? Now, I'm the kind of person that has been into aviation in as far as I actually love the feeling of flying, the idea of flying, but I never really had exposure earlier on. So things like knowing different aircrafts and some of the things that I find other people know, I'm not really in the know. So this is a good opportunity for me to get in the know, really. So let's have a look at what that aircraft is. Here it is. This is the Sports Star SLM, apparently. Okay, cool. So what are they saying about it? Investigation of Sports Star SLM fatal accident. That's always sad to read. Near Chesterfield, Derbyshire, 1st September 2024. This statement provides an update on an AAIB investigation into the loss of control of Sports Star SLM Golf Charlie Mike Bravo. Okay, that's weird. Up here says Golf Bravo. Up down here says Mike Bravo. All right. Shortly after takeoff, in conditions of reduced visibility, the aircraft took off and encountered weather that was incompatible with flight under VFR. After a series of turns, the aircraft departed controlled flight. That's a weird way of putting it. The aircraft departed controlled flight and struck the ground near Chesterfield. The investigation into this event is complete, and a final report will be issued in due course. And of course, as soon as that comes out and hits my timeline, I will be sharing it with you on a Monday during the show. Okie doke. We have one more update from the AAIB for this week. And it's the anniversary statement, Jodel D120 Golf Alpha Yankee Golf. And again, Actually, let's see if we can find this exact aircraft. Let's have a look at what that looks like. Here it is. Bosch. That is the Joe Dell. Golf Alpha Yankee Golf. All right, so let's read up on what's happening with this anniversary. So, loss of control in flight after reported engine failure. Belhus Woods, Country Park, Essex, 7th of September 2024. This statement provides an update on the AAIB investigation into the accident involving a Joe Dell D120 Golf Alpha Yankee Golf. After takeoff from Dammins Hall Airfield. Where is Dammins Hall? I think that's near North Weald, where I fly from. Let's look. Updates. Would you like to upload updates? Let's have a look. I'm going to pull out the chart. Would you like to upload? No, I don't want to update now. Let's have a look. Where is Dammins Hall? Where is Dammins Hall? There it is. I thought so. Let's have a look. Let me just show that and share that with you. Sharing. Stop sharing screen. Bosch. Window. Bosch. So Dammins Hall is there. Stapleford. I fly from North Weald. Stapleford is there. So that is east of about northeast of London City Airport and east of Heathrow. Okay. So what happened to this Joe Dell? After takeoff from Dammins Hall Airfield, the aircraft lost power. It subsequently departed. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. What? Oh, I am bugging. Okay, so after takeoff from Dammins Hall Airfield, the aircraft lost power. It subsequently departed controlled flight and struck the ground in Belhus Woods Country Park. The pilot was seriously injured. The investigation is now complete and the final report is being prepared for publication. Just had a call. Call him back after. Got one of the scholars that I am supporting this year, probably calling me to check in on how their flying is going. But yeah, so that's the latest updates from the AAIB. Obviously, when the full reports come out, you know where it will be featured. It will be right here on Future Pilot 901, 7 p.m. British summertime on Kick and YouTube. Well, there you are. That is your update of the week from the AAIB, and it's time for a short, brief commercial break.
Nice takeoff.
That's a screw. I was waiting for that because everyone does it.
I'm gonna make sure that you can do it. And you can do it, I know.
Gonna get to the height of a double-decker bus.
How about this high?
Smoothly throttle to idle. Smoothly raise the nose.
This is floating. It floats.
Yes, man. Good food after hard days of flying, bro.
Bro, it's needed, man. That landing, woo. I'm worn out.
We are back in the Hizals. Okie doke. So let's see. What else do we have? So apparently I was off to a barbecue this weekend. A summer barbecue, as the summer comes to a close here in the UK. And I was flying with somebody and they said that apparently you cannot fly to to Belgium, same place. No, I'm joking. You can't fly to Belgium anymore because apparently Avgas has been banned. Is that true? Is that true? I have no clue. I was planning to fly to France this month. Don't know if it's going to go ahead, but Belgium is obviously just round the corner from France. So let's have a look. What is happening? Do you guys know anything about that? Do you guys know about the Avgas ban in Belgium? Let's see if we can find out a little bit more information about this. So I've got an article or a bit of a web page here to have a look at. What does it say? Okay, so if you're planning a flight to Antwerp airport without handling services, it's mandatory to announce your flight online. Let's come down to the Avgas restrictions and guidelines. Dear airport user, please be aware that Antwerp Airport ANR is Avgas restricted airport with a limited number of Avgas movements. Due to this limitation, the following restrictions apply. Non-home-based aircraft using Avgas are generally no longer accepted. Exceptions require prior approval from the airport inspection. All airport users are requested to minimize non-critical flights using Avgas. And when registering your flight, please indicate the actual fuel used by selecting the appropriate option. So it looks like they have heavy restriction. Non-home-based can't come in. Home-based, minimize non-critical flights. So it looks like they're taking a hard stance at Antwerp Airport. But yeah, things are changing. But does that apply to all of Belgium? So I did what you're supposed to do when you're doing research. You consult Google. That's what you do. You type it into Google and you try to find out what's going on. And that's what I did. So let's see what Google is saying. Find out about this. Okay, so AI overview. No, Avgas is not completely banned in Belgium, but ANR, Antwerp, Ostend Airport as well have implemented severe restriction and bans on its use for non-home-based aircraft due to environmental concerns and operational limits. While the production and supply of Avgas in Europe are secured until 2032, that's really useful to know. The airport's actions aim to reduce lead emissions, though they are being challenged by aviation organizations for being arbitrary and potentially illegal. Okay, so that's something to watch out for. Okay. So what is the legal challenge. So Belgian authorities are being asked to provide the legal and scientific justification for these airport bans, which remain open to legal challenge. So there's something about this kind of being seen as arbitrary. I saw something about, the fact that it is going to be phased out, but what they do not want is kind of, okay, so here, EU policy. The European Union is working towards a coordinated transition to lead-free aviation fuels, but a hasty, uncoordinated ban by individual member states is discouraged. So it doesn't look like it applies to all of Belgium, but definitely Antwerp and Ostend. And so that's something to be aware of. And if I hear any more about that, you know where I'll be sharing that information. If you hear something about that as well, let me know, guys, because I need to know these things. Right. Well, that was your aviation ban update from Future Pilot 901 Studios regarding Belgium. All right. Well, I'm going to hit you guys with another one of them. If you've not watched my videos, by the way, if you've not watched my videos, you don't really want to become a pilot. You're not serious. If you were serious, you would watch my videos, right? I've got season 1 learning to fly. I've got season 2 learning to fly. I've got flight to dance. I'll show you guys that later. So there's a ton of videos for you to get stuck in. In fact, I've got 3 years worth of footage still left to release. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss it when it comes out. Obviously, I'm joking, guys. Don't take it too seriously. Like, relax. Life is serious, but not that serious. So just relax. It's all good in the hood and sweet on the street. Right to you. Ever messed up on the radios? I know I have. I've messed up on the radios a bunch of times. Where is that? Let's check it out.
Will 01, is that Bravo 1? Bravo 1, we'd like to back up to the RP, please.
Will 01, nothing to affect your backtrack to RP.
Roger, backtracking. Will 01.
Well, you knew what you meant.
Well, that was a fail. Yeah, I've had a bunch of those. And one thing, I'm obviously, I'm on about 100 and just shy of 120 hours. And obviously come across lots of pilots who are low hours and, make little mistakes here and there. And one of the things that I've noticed is that everyone makes mistakes, right? Some people just don't talk about it. They hide their mistakes. So when low-hour pilots make mistakes, we feel like, wait, I'm the only one to have made this mistake. No, everyone else is a perfect pilot, but I'm the one messing up these radio calls. I'm the one messing up on this, these landings. I'm the one messing up with. No, what I've realized is, look, I know a bunch of people that film their flights. They've got all the equipment. They've got 1, 2, 3 cameras. They've got audio recording equipment. And they still don't post their videos. They do not post their videos. Why? Because they don't want people to see what they do on their flights, right? So for me, I've learned to not give. Okay, I've learned to brush off criticism. That's probably a better way to say it, a more PG way of saying it. To brush off criticism, because you know, I might have made that mistake, but I actually published my videos, right? And you ain't publishing none of your videos, because if you did, there's something we could pick out, right? So, you know, it's kind of similar to like how you should take criticism from people who've never done what you're trying to do. Any of their criticism, take it with a pinch of salt, because it's like, and I struggle with this because when I listen to people complain about systems, oh yeah, like this system is terrible and it's just not efficient and it's not. But it's like, have you ever actually tried to build a system? Have you? I'll give you an example. People complain about scholarship selections and sponsored cadet scheme selections and that kind of thing. I'm like, all right, well, last year I actually produced my own scholarship. Yeah, I produced Future Pilot 901 scholarship, and I had to build it up from scratch. I had to choose the selection panel. I had to think about the selection criteria. I had to think about what I wanted to have in the application. I had to think about how long between each thing. I had to think about, you know, how to interact with each candidate. I had to think about what, you know, things I should prioritize when it comes to the interviews and what thing I should, you know, not pay much attention to, right? So for example, one candidate showed up in a hoodie, another candidate showed up dressed up, right? But then the candidate who showed up dressed up wasn't necessarily meeting the criteria for like, you know, having that dog, right? Whereas the other one kind of seemed more realistic, but they were in a hoodie. So it's like, which one do you prioritize? So I came to the conclusion, because I like to build stuff, that it's actually super complicated to build stuff, and you can't make a system perfect, and you just have to have trade-offs, right? There are no solutions, only trade-offs. So that means, yeah, sometimes you have to trade off efficiency for effectiveness. Sometimes you have to have these trade-offs, but I don't have a huge amount of respect to commentary about systems when it comes from people who've not built anything, because your criticism doesn't have reality. It's got ideals, right? It's you're operating from this idyllic world which doesn't really exist. We live in a real world, and the real world says it's trade-offs. There's no perfect solutions. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. But yeah, all I'm saying is, you know, don't take criticism from people in trying to do what you're trying to do. Take it with a pinch of salt. Obviously, a broken clock is correct twice a day, so there could be something to learn there, but never take it personally. Never take it personally. Right. With that said, have you guys seen Fly to Dance? Have you seen Fly to Dance? If you haven't, I've been getting really good feedback, actually. People telling me they've watched the video, they've found it utterly entertaining. And I have to admit, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. And when I edit my videos, I watch them like probably 100 times when I'm editing, maybe even more. And I try to make something that I enjoy watching. So I enjoy watching all my videos, and when people enjoy watching them, it brings me a lot of joy, because that's what I'm trying to do, share the joy of aviation with you amazing people. So Fly to Dance is the latest mini-series. If you've not seen it, check it out. I've always loved flying.
Hello. Under the radar. Come on. Well done.
And dancing, there's no denying. If only I could blend the two. I know what I'll do. I'll fly to a new place to dance with a new face, enjoying the wings a private pilot license brings.
That was a little bit gusty.
just made a no-fly decision.
Squawk on switch duty, 3 call shore.
A different way to our build and advance.
2-0, join downwind.
I call it fly to dance.
Full flaps.
Ooh, nice one.
Flaps come up.
Well, flight, man.
Foxtrot Sierra, welcome to shore.
We have everything in this flight, man.
Everything, bro.
Superb, superb. So, in case you don't know, I'm going to give away one of these hats. Well, not this one, a brand new one. If you would like to be entered into the draw, make sure you type the words "Live Your Dreams" in the comments, in the videos, in the chat to be entered into the draw. The draw will be done first show in October. So you got all of September. I'm going to be collecting usernames to add to a draw, and I'll have one of these, a color of your choice, sent out to you, either my favorite white, classic black, or the cool blue. Up to you. So make yourself give yourself a chance of winning something free. Come on. And it's got a great message, and it's a great reminder, and it's one of the mind tricks I play myself. I put these things around me so that I never get astray too far from what I'm supposed to do. All right, you need reminders that will keep you on track to achieve the goals that you have. You have to play these mind games with yourself. It's really, really important to play mind tricks with yourself. Otherwise, your mind looks for safety, looks for comfort, and you'll never achieve your dream. You'll just curl up in a bowl in a corner and eat Weetabix and play video games all day. And that wouldn't be very productive. Right, speaking of the brain and the mind, brings us to the segment where we talk about performance pilot, skills, techniques, and strategies to maximize your flying experience. So, what chapter have we got to? We are currently finishing the chapter on mental imagery, right? So, and we've been talking about it in segments in the last few shows. So we're going to pick up right where we left off. So we've talked about the importance of visualizing, and not just visualizing, but mental imagery. And the idea is, close your eyes, relax your mind, and play through whatever it is. If there's a procedure you're trying to learn, maybe you're trying to perfect your landing, maybe you're trying to improve your reaction time when it comes to emergency procedures, right? So get yourself a script of what you need to do some breathing, relax your mind, then start running through it. And the idea is, the more senses you involve in your imagination, the more effective it is. So as you're imagining, you're not just visualizing, which is to do with vision, right? What you're doing is you're thinking about what you would see in that scenario. You're thinking about what you would hear. You're imagining what you would hear. You also imagine what it would feel like. So you're using visual, auditory, and kinesthetic senses in your imagination. And the more senses you involve, the more realistic it is. And the backdrop of all of that is that our minds are really not that good at distinguishing between reality and imagination. This is why last time I gave the example that we go to a movie, we know it's a movie, we paid for a ticket, it starts off with adverts, we know the actors in it, right? But we still go to that movie and we still feel sad that this particular character died. Now, we know somebody went action, and then that's all makeup, right? But we still feel scared, angry, sad, and all range of emotions when we watch, because movies are playing on our imagination. Even books like novels and stuff like that play on our imagination. So why do we have such a visceral response sometimes, an emotional response. Why do we, and the emotional response obviously comes from like brain activation, hormones getting secreted. So your body is actually reacting as if it really happened when it didn't, right? And so it's the idea is that we can use that to our advantage, where we can imagine flying and our body will take it as if it's actually got flying hours. So you could have 10 hours in your logbook, but 100 hours in your mental logbook, right? And that would help you to be, in a way more experienced than what you are. Right. So that's really the backdrop of this. So when you're doing your mental imagery, the next section kind of talks about state of mind, which is very interesting, and it talks about brain waves. And if you don't know these, there's the beta brainwave, which is 13 to 25 hertz. There's the alpha waves, which are 7 to 13 hertz range. Then there's the theta, which is 4 to 7 hertz range. Then there's the delta. Basically, when your conscious mind is active, you're thinking about something, you're actually actively doing something, you're in a beta wave state, right? Now, the idea is you got all these waves happening in your brain, but it's the distribution that changes. So you're mostly beta brainwaves when you're actively consciously doing something. Now, when you take some deep breaths and you relax yourself and you slow your heart rate down and you relax, you then go into alpha. When you get to that point where you're just kind of about to doze off, and like random images start popping into your mind and your imagination kind of starts pinging off and you start imagining certain things. I won't tell you what some of the things that I imagine. That's between I and I. That's not for you to know, and definitely not on a live stream. Anywho, theta is when you're just drifting off, your mind is starting to ping, imagination starts to buzz a little bit, but you're more than relaxed, right? You're just about to drift into sleep. And then delta, the last one, is when basically the brain waves that is primarily produced when you are sleeping, right? So the idea is that you want to do your mental imagery in a alpha theta state, right? Where you're relaxed, alpha, relaxed, theta, nearly falling asleep, but not asleep. So you want that range there. And how you do that is by relaxing your brain, taking deep breaths. Sitting down is better than laying down, because laying down you probably end up going to sleep. So sitting down is better. And apparently, if you feel yourself dozing off, take 3 sharp, deep, or quick breaths to kind of bring yourself back consciously, and then relax again. And the idea is when you put yourself in that state, your mind is then more receptive. So it's almost like hypnosis type of thing, right? Your mind is more receptive to being programmed on how you want to respond in specific situation, whether it's an emergency landing, engine failure, engine fire, normal landing technique, crosswind landing techniques, whatever it is, dealing with your skills test, or approaching an exam, approaching an assessment. You want to prepare yourself mentally, you need to be in an alpha theta state according to this book. I'll read an excerpt. If you simply close your eyes and consciously think about something, your mind will be in a beta state, and the effectiveness of your mental imagery will be significantly reduced. Herein lays a major common misconception. Thinking about flying the aircraft is not mental programming. It's not mental imagery. Thinking about something is done at the conscious level, and the conscious level is not the most effective state of mind to be in to learn something effectively and for it to become part of your mental programming. So, how long does it take to get yourself into an alpha theta state? Apparently 2 to 5 minutes. And I was trying it today. I was experimenting with it today. And I will keep on experimenting with that. And I wrote a script actually about landing. So I've got like my process. So from turning final, roll wings level, too high or too low, reduce the power, adjust, trim for, approach speed, check that I'm trimmed and stabilized. Then car beat away, ready for a go around, approach the aiming point, fly level, use peripheral vision. So I've got all of that set and I've been running through it. So I'll keep on doing that and then we'll see what the impact is over time. But that's been good. Now, when you program your mind, you've got your script of what you want to achieve, or you've got your checklist that you're trying to practice. You relax your mind, you run through it mentally, and you can even record yourself so that you can close your eyes and be relaxed in your alpha theta state and listen to it as you imagine, using all your senses in your imagination. You do that, you program your mind, right? But now you've got a mental programming. It's like an app in your brain, right? But just because you have the app in your brain doesn't mean the app is going to be activated, right? So that app is now going to need a trigger, just like you tap or double click, then the software opens up. So what they suggest is, you can have trigger actions, trigger words, that kind of bring that programming once you've practiced it. And they suggest practice daily, twice a day. Practice twice a day for about 20 minutes doing your imagery. So you probably need 2 to 5 minutes relaxing, then 15 to 20 minutes mental imagery, programming your mind. And on a Monday you could do something like procedures. On a Tuesday you could do something like you could do something along the lines of the state of mind that you want to be in an exam or whatever. So you can kind of vary it and have different themes for different days, but do it every day, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And now then you have that programming, and then have a trigger word or trigger action, right? Which could be from whatever works for you. And you just need to experiment with that. It could be a certain clap. It could be a certain thing you do with your hands that kind of activates that programming. It could be a certain word, trigger word. So for example, you could use your call, or I could use calling final and the word final as a trigger word. Okay, boom, final. Relaxed. Am I too high? Am I too low? Okay, adjust, check that I'm trimmed, hands off the controls. Cool. Carb heat goes away, ready for a go around if I need it, over the aiming point. So I can use the word final as a trigger. So it's really important to identify your trigger word to then activate the state that you practiced in your mental imagery. So yeah, that seems like some really cool ideas, and I'm working on practicing those. In fact, you can even use props, they suggest, right? You can use props to make, the more real you can make it, the better and more effective it will be. So if you've got your headsets, and you could put your headset at home and you can kind of practice what it would be to feel like to be there, or you can use certain things for the rudder pedals for your feet. If you've got rudder pedals like flight sim rudder pedals at home, then you can use those. Or maybe you can get somebody to sit opposite you and you kind of push against their feet as a way to practice using your feet for the rudder pedals. So making it real is really one thing that they've really pushed with this idea. Yeah, so I'm going to read this last section. There's much more to flying than just the basic motor skills. A good simulator, if you're using simulator, will allow you to put to practice. Oh, actually, here is something that is a pet peeve for me. I'm going to backtrack before I read that part. I know of student pilots working on the private pilot license who jump on a flight sim. And what do they do on a flight sim? Fly an A320, A380, fly a 747, fly a 787, fly an A350. And I'm like, the airlines have it figured out. When they're going to put you in an A320, they put you in an A320 sim. If they're going to put you in a 777, they put you in a 777 sim. What if they were going to get you to fly the A350? What sim would they put you in? They'll put you in an A350 sim. So if you're flying a Cessna 152 for your training, why would you get on a sim and fly the A350 or this 777 or the 787? It doesn't make sense, right? And finally, I found some people that can back me up, right? Because it talks about using flight sim as a way to enhance your mental imagery and practice your procedures and all that kind of stuff. So, okay. These simulations can be valuable in helping a pilot develop a virtual reality visualization, although there are a couple of limitations. All right. So there are limitations to it. Now, how much does flying a Boeing 737 out of JFK help a Cirrus SR-22 pilot preparing for a flight out of their local airport? Mental rehearsal of flying one type of aircraft does not necessarily apply to another, but this is not an issue if you can purchase a detailed add-on for the aircraft type you fly. So pay a little bit extra, get the add-on of the actual aircraft you fly from the actual airfield that you fly in, stop at the actual places that you stop. In fact, when you start up exactly where you normally start up in the flight sim, as you do in real life. Make the calls that you would actually make, taxi the route you would actually taxi, stop at the holding points you actually stop at, make the calls you actually make, do your power checks where you usually do the power checks, take off how you normally take off, go to the flying area that you normally go into, right? When you do that, you actually maximize the benefit of the flight sim. But when you spend the time flying from Heathrow, from JFK, wherever, which is not what you're actually practicing in your lessons, you minimize the potential of what you have in your hands. So I'm glad it actually mentions that in this book, that simulation is useful, but it's useful the more specific you make it to what you're actually working on, right? And simulation is useful for practicing and running checklists. It's useful for familiarizing yourself with a new destination. And that actually gave me an idea that maybe I need to reboot my sim. And whenever I'm going to fly to an unfamiliar airfield, maybe I should fly it in the sim first before I fly it in real life. That's actually a real good idea. No, that's actually a really good idea. I like that idea. Don't know if I'm going to do it though. Don't know if I'm going to do it though. But yeah, I will make. In fact, what I'm going to do potentially is do another stream in the week. I'll find a time, and that day will be a flight sim stream. And that will give me the accountability. I told you at the beginning of this episode, right? It's all about tricking your mind. So if I've got to do it live, then I will probably do it. Because I don't want to let y'all down if I give you guys my word. So flight sims can be really useful for practicing, changing weather parameters to see, what you'd be able to see when breaking, certain visual, breaking visual at various minima or instrument approaches. Practicing or allowing for the effects of varying wind components, that's pretty useful, so you can get your cross controls into the practice in when you're doing flight sim without obviously the pressure of being in it in real life. Route preparation for navigation exercises. Yeah, if your simulator has good visual model, you can actually practice your nav on there. So that brings me to the end of the mental imagery chapter, and next chapter is going to be about learning. So we are making progress through the book. Yay. All right, well, we're slowly drifting towards the wrapping up of the show, which is good fun. All right, I've got somebody else to block from the Kick chat because I don't like spammy messages like that. So don't spam my chat. All right, don't spam my chat because I will ban you and not even think twice about it. I will ban you and not think twice about it. And if you keep trying to find a way to spam my chat, I will hunt you down. I will find you. I will find you. Anywho, switching it up. In case you want to get some practice in, there's a couple of gifts I have for you guys. In case you want to get some practice in, I've got this video to allow you to practice your radio telephony. I edited it actually from the original. So what you're going to hear is Heathrow Tower. And after each instruction, you then have a gap for you to be able to answer the radio call, to respond to the instruction. So this will allow you to work on your fluency, to work on your readback, and also short-term memory practice. Here's a demo.
Contact the tower 118.5, good day.
Contact tower 118.5, Virgin 26 Quebec. You actually don't have to pause it.
Try 916, stand right heading 240 degrees, report localizer established, runway 27 left.
Right in 240 degrees, report localizer established 27 left, China 916.
Singapore 318, contact the tower 118.5, good day.
Contact tower 118.5, Singapore 318, good day. So you can use it that way. Again, practice your work on your short-term memory, work on your fluency, readback, that kind of thing. This video is not public, okay? So you can only access it through the link. So if you'd like to get your radio telephony practice in, you now have the link in the chat, okay? Save it because you cannot access it without the link. That's just specially for future Pilot 901 audience. Shout out to you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you spending your Monday evening with me. Also, as you might have noticed, we've had a little burst of new subscribers. We are 3 away from reaching 500. Shout out to the new subs. Thank you. Thank you. Shout out to you. Thank you for being part of the community and for following the channel. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. We are 3 away. Road to 500. If you're on Kick, get yourself on YouTube. Help us reach 500 subs on YouTube. I will love you a long time. Love you a long time. All right. Cool. Well, now that we've got to the end of the show, let me see. There's only one more thing to do. And that is to tune into some of our favorite aviation YouTubers. Of course, goated for me when it comes to accident investigation in general aviation. Goated is Hoover Pilot Debrief. Let me see. Have I got someone else I need to ban? Oh, okay. Oh, I like it. Here's another ban. Take that. You are been banned. Goodbye to you, homie. Goodbye to you. Let me see. Does that automatically delete it? I think it does. But yeah, you have been banned. Now you cannot chat on the channel anymore. Take that. All right. Well, it's time to tune into one of our favorite aviation YouTubers. I think he's got something interesting. Get yourself some popcorn. Get yourself a drink if you need to. And let's check it out. But before that, a short, brief commercial break. I've always loved flying.
Hello. Under the radar. Come on. Well done.
And dancing, there's no denying. If only I could blend the two. I know what I'll do. I'll fly to a new place to dance with a new face. Enjoying the wings a private pilot license brings.
That was a little bit gusty.
Just made a no-fly decision.
Squawk on speed duty, 3-4 shore.
A different way to our build and advance.
2-0, joy and downwind.
I call it fly to dance.
Full flaps.
Ooh, nice one.
Flaps come up.
Wow, flight, man.
Foxtrot Sierra, welcome to shore.
We have everything in this flight, man.
Everything, bro.
Here we have a video posted. When was it posted? I think it was like sometime yesterday. Yeah, just over 24 hours. Members first. Okay, got you. So if you're not subscribed, obviously you can see I'm subscribed. Turn on the notification bell. Take yourself over to Pilot Debrief. Subscribe to the channel. He's got some incredibly useful content. I definitely highly recommend you doing that because he's got a great channel, great content, useful information for us to learn to be better pilots. And I really like his breakdown. Anyways, enough of me talking about how he does what he does, and let's actually experience.
Star bought a brand new airplane. A former Major League Baseball star bought a brand new airplane and took off for what should have been a fun flight over the water, but instead it turned out to be a deadly disaster. And the shocking truth is that there was a whole lot more to the story than the drugs that fueled this flight, including the one thing that could have saved him. I'm Hoover, and welcome to your pilot debrief. Our story begins on November.
Guys, did I ever tell you about that one time I flew with somebody who'd never experienced general aviation before? And they were like, this is so cool. Can I ask you a question? Can I fly high with you? What? You know, like get high and then fly. It's like, yo, No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Sorry, SOZ, S-O-Z. Not happening. Not on my watch. So, no. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being in an emergency, especially in something like a Piper, right? I think we were in a Piper that day. Don't start going through my videos to try to figure out who I flew with in the Piper. That video is not published. But what was I going to talk about? Yeah, imagine being in a Piper. So in a Piper, the pilot flying is on the left, then the passenger is on the right, and then there's two seats behind. But you only have one door, which is on the passenger side. So you're relying in an emergency landing for the passenger to unlatch the doors, right? Because they're there next to the door. And obviously what happens is in an emergency landing, the impact can actually squash the door and jam it, right? And this is how people, get stuck in an aircraft and potentially, it's fatal, right? So you want your door cracked and open before you touch down and impact. So can you imagine that person's high and what this latch, like, smack them. Do you know what? Actually, as a pilot flying and even as a flight instructor, smacking is a very important skill. Did you guys know that? Yeah, it's a very important skill. Imagine, and I've read this before, actually, I think it was one of Pilot Debrief's videos from like last year or the year before, maybe last year. But this, I don't even know if it was a flight instructor, but they told somebody to do the takeoff, and they would follow along. Now, this person pulls back on the yoke for takeoff. They rotate, they start climbing, but obviously you want to be on the sweet spot, right? You don't want to climb too steep because you're going to stall and just drop back down. You don't want to, fly back into the ground. You don't want to just fly right level because you're probably going to end up in an obstacle. You want to have the right angular climb, right? But this person pulled up so much that they literally just went up, stalled, and crashed back down, right? And it can happen because people get stiff, right? Especially if they're freaking out their first time, they just pull back and stiff. Like, you need to be able to chop those arms, right? Otherwise you could all end up dying. So listen, my mental imagery is going to be chop, beating somebody up next to me if they do some stupidness. Better not act like a fool when you fly with me. Anyways, I'm professional, guys. Let's now that we put that away, let's get back to being professionals. But I just want to say it's actually an important skill to be able to chop someone's arms off the yoke if and when it is necessary. Remember, as a pilot, you can deviate from standard operating procedures as long as it's for reasons of safety. So just remember that. As long as you can argue that it was for safety reason, smack. That was for the safety of everyone on the flight. It is what it is. But anyways, let's get back to this video.
7th, 2017, when a former Major League Baseball pitcher named Roy Halladay took off from a lake near Odessa, Florida, to take a quick flight over the Gulf before he was supposed to meet up with his family later in the day. Tragically, the flight turned deadly when eyewitnesses watched in horror as the aircraft began a very steep climb away from the water, then rolled to the right and dove almost straight down into the ocean below, killing Roy instantly. In order to understand how this tragedy happened, we need to start by looking at the pilot flying the plane. If you've never heard of Roy Halladay, he was a professional baseball pitcher and one of the most respected players of his era. He played in Major League Baseball for 16 seasons, most of that time with the Toronto Blue Jays before finishing with the Philadelphia Phillies. During that time, he won 2 Cy Young Awards, and he was known for his humility, leadership, and his commitment to young athletes. Eventually, he retired from baseball in 2013, about 4 years prior to this tragedy, and started to pursue his passion for aviation. Now, it's not clear when Roy first started flying, but according to the investigation, he had a private pilot certificate as well as an instrument rating with just over 700 hours of total flight time at the time of the crash. And my guess is that Roy got started in aviation because his father was a career pilot in the military and the airlines, and allegedly Roy's dad is the one that provided him with his initial flight training.
EasyJet's big orange sale is now up.
Well, at least it's an aviation advert.
With the NTSB, Roy's dad said that his son's training performance was very good and Roy had excellent stick and rudder skills, and he was easily able to handle learning various types of aircraft. Now, honestly, that's not surprising to me because I'm sure the same hand-eye coordination and mental focus that made him dominant on the pitcher's mound translated naturally to flying airplanes. But the thing is, aviation isn't just about stick and rudder skills. It's about discipline and judgment, and that's where Roy started to slip. In fact, Roy's dad said there were times where he observed his son making decisions that he considered risky. Specifically, he recalled that Roy would fly long flights over the water in his single-engine Cessna Caravan, sometimes at night or in IFR conditions as a single pilot. Now, just to clarify, there's nothing wrong with flying as a single pilot in IFR conditions or at night, as long as you recognize that it can be some of the most demanding kind of flying that you can do as a pilot, especially if you don't have an autopilot, and I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you don't have a lot of experience as a pilot. Either way, Roy's dad tried to explain to him how there's very little risk tolerance in aviation and he should be more conservative. He also told the investigators that he had a feeling that Roy didn't appreciate the dangers involved with flying. That's something we're going to talk more about in a minute, but before we get to that, there are a few things you need to know about the aircraft that Roy was flying. This is the 2017 Icon A5 that Roy was flying when he crashed. If you're not familiar, it's an amphibious light sport aircraft that made its debut at the Oshkosh Air Show in 2014, with customer deliveries scheduled to begin in 2016, and Roy was going to be one of the first to get one. According to this post that Roy made on Twitter, he started training in the Icon A5 in May of 2016, about a year and a half prior to the crash. One of the things that's worth pointing out, though, is that the instrument panel doesn't look like most aircraft. You've got an airspeed indicator and an altimeter, but there isn't an attitude indicator.
Whoa, that looks like some kind of futuristic car type business. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, that can be a bit confusing, especially when you're flying, switching aircraft if it's not standardized.
One of the reasons why is because the aircraft isn't certified for IFR flight. Instead, it was designed to be flown only in VMC conditions where you can just look outside and see the horizon. Additionally, the primary instrument at the top of the panel is an angle of attack indicator. And if you're not familiar with one of these, basically Icon says it gives you a visual indication of the stall margin of the aircraft based on the wing performance. And the company released this video back in 2013 demonstrating a steep turn, and you can see how when the pilot increases the angle of bank and pulls back on the controls, the angle of attack increases into the yellow range, but as long as he doesn't touch the red, the aircraft isn't going to stall. Essentially, the AOA indicator lets the pilot see exactly how much they can demand of the aircraft, regardless of the density, altitude, the maneuver, or how much fuel you're carrying. And
that's actually very useful. That's very useful.
In fact, AOA indicators are very common in fighter jets because fighter pilots need to max perform the aircraft, and the airspeed associated with doing that is always going to change based on the aircraft weight, especially in the Strike Eagle as you drop bombs or burn through 10,000 pounds of gas. Now, I think unfortunately when the Icon A5 was first sold, there were at least a few pilots that treated the aircraft like a fighter jet, perhaps sometimes trying to max perform the aircraft, focusing on the AOA indicator instead of using it as a tool to keep you safe. That being said, before we talk about the flight that got Roy killed, there was another crash involving this aircraft that would serve as a warning for what could happen when you push the limits. 6 months before Roy's deadly flight, there was another Icon A5 that crashed in California. On May 8, 2017, a commercial pilot with over 4,500 hours of flight time, including almost 600 hours in the Icon A5, took...
Notice how it's not just pilots with a low amount of hours that end up in some of these accidents, because complacency can be a factor. Now, I don't know if that's a factor in this case, but when I spoke to a 777 captain with American Airlines, you can see it in the blog on www.futurepilot901.com. I did a kind of recap of that conversation, and he said, look, fatigue, complacency, one of the killers. So yeah, don't think just because you got more hours that you're, you know, it won't happen to you. In fact, that's one of the hazardous attitudes, isn't it? That it will never happen to me, because it could happen. All it takes is for all the holes in the Swiss cheese to line up, all the layers of the Swiss cheese to, you know, line up. If you know what the Swiss cheese model is, if you don't know, look it up. But yeah, I just wanted to note that.
500 hours of flight time, including almost 600 hours in the Icon A5, took off for a demonstration flight with a newly hired Icon employee. The flight headed out over a nearby lake, flying low across the water, but the pilot made a tragic mistake when he turned to the north to fly up Little Portuguese Canyon. Keep in mind that the canyon is only about 500 feet wide at the entrance and only gets narrower from there. The problem was, because he was flying too low when he entered the canyon, he didn't have enough room to turn around or climb fast enough to escape the rising terrain, and he crashed into the hillside on the edge of the water, killing himself and the passenger. Surprisingly, it only took a little over 3 months for the NTSB to finish their investigation, and they said that most likely the pilot flew up the wrong canyon by mistake, perhaps thinking he was flying up the one just to the west that led out to the open portion of the lake. Either way, the crash raised some concerns about safety when it comes to flying the aircraft, because after all, some people felt like the A5 was being marketed as a jet ski with wings. And essentially, the aircraft was all about the fun and excitement of flying low over the water, which is something we're going to talk more about when we look at what happened during the flight that got Roy killed. However, the reason why I'm bringing up the crash in the canyon is because a few months after it happened, Icon published low-altitude flying guidelines to help ensure that anyone purchasing their aircraft understood some of the risks of flying in a low-altitude environment, which was where the aircraft was designed to operate most of the time. In particular, they highlighted the FAR requirements to remain at least 500 feet away from any person, vessel, or structure when operating over sparsely populated or open water areas, and they went on to recommend maneuvering limits for the aircraft whenever you were above or below the soft deck, which was defined as 300 feet above the ground, unless you had specifically undergone Icon low-altitude training and had an Icon check ride. Additionally, they talked about flying politely, and they underlined the words "do not show off." However, I'd argue that when it comes to this guidance, instead of them focusing on the risks of showing off, their concerns seem to be more about how others might perceive your flying. Either way, the investigation was able to confirm that Roy received and reviewed the low-altitude flying guidelines after they were published, warning him about the dangers of aggressively maneuvering at low altitude. The question was, would he listen?
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base.
Roy did his initial training to learn how to fly the A5 over a 2-day period in May of 2016, and he was scheduled to take delivery of his brand new aircraft later that year, but production delays pushed that back over a year, and in mid-October of 2017, Roy finally got his airplane, posting photos on Twitter saying, "I have dreamed about owning an A5 since I retired. Real life is better than my dreams." Keep in mind that about a year and a half had gone by since Roy's initial training, and during that time he logged about 37 hours in the A5, but it's not clear if he got any sort of refresher training when his aircraft was delivered. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Roy had been working with Icon, and he was featured in one of their promotional videos showing off the aircraft he had purchased, so it would make sense that the company would take the extra steps to ensure that Roy was well qualified to fly. And the truth is that according to the investigation, as far as the company was concerned, there weren't any red flags with Roy, and everyone at the company had nice things to say about him. In fact, one of the instructors that flew with him said he was very competent and conservative, and he never witnessed any aggressive or unsafe tendencies, and he was shocked to hear about Roy's accident. Unfortunately, the problem is that sometimes pilots fly differently when the instructor isn't around or when no one is looking. And that brings us to the events leading up to the crash. Over the next few weeks, after Roy got his airplane, he would go on to log another 14.5 hours in the aircraft leading up to the crash. According to his logbook, during one of those flights, he wrote in the notes section, "Flight from Peterborough Night, home with Brandy, flew under Skyway Bridge." First of all, Peterborough Night is an airport in the Tampa Bay area, Brandy is his wife, and the Skyway Bridge is considered Florida's flagship bridge. The main section of the bridge only provides about 190 feet of clearance, and according to the flight data downloaded from his aircraft, Roy flew under it, then he turned around and flew back under it again at an altitude of 39 feet doing 73 knots. Think about that for a minute. He owned the aircraft for less than 2 weeks, and he flew under that bridge twice. And the thing is, he wasn't just risking his own life, he was risking the lives of the people driving on the bridge, not to mention the fact that his wife was sitting next to him when he did it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming his wife for not speaking up about what happened or for not stopping him from ever flying again. There were some other issues going on that we're going to talk about in a second, but for now, one thing was clear. Roy was operating the aircraft in a reckless manner. In fact, he made this post on Twitter saying, "I keep telling my dad, flying the Icon A5 low over the water is like flying a fighter jet." His response, "I am flying a fighter jet." Let me be perfectly clear though, the A5 isn't a fighter jet, and despite the fact that people sometimes assume that fighter pilots are reckless or they're daredevils, the reality is that fighter pilots are some of the most disciplined aviators on the planet because they know how dangerous their missions are, and that's why they're ruthless when it comes to following the rules.
By the way, Hoover was a fighter pilot, and as you can see behind him, he's got all this stuff. He's now commercial though.
Roy, on the other hand, might have been pretending he was a fighter pilot, but he wasn't respecting the rules that would keep him alive. And by the way, for what it's worth, I'm also not blaming Roy's dad for what happened. I think his dad tried to warn him about the risks of flying, but Roy just didn't listen. On the morning of the flight, Roy hopped in the plane and took off from Island Ford Lake in Odessa, Florida, and initially climbed to an altitude of almost 2,000 feet while flying north for about 4 miles before turning west towards the Gulf. According to the flight data and multiple eyewitnesses, once he got out over the Gulf, he descended as low as 5 feet above the water, and over the course of a 3-minute period, he made a series of steep turns and would then pull back on the controls, performing a few aggressively nose-high climbs a few hundred feet in the air, before diving back down to the water again, flying dangerously close to the homes on the shoreline as well as the fishermen on the water. Now, I'd share some of the video with you, but TMZ and other outlets have the rights to it, and I don't want to get a copyright strike. But I'll tell you that in the video, you can see how he's flying low and some of the maneuvering he was doing before the crash. In the final moments leading up to the crash, the throttle was moved almost to the idle position, and he increased the load factor on the aircraft to about 2 Gs as he pitched up in the air again. But this time the airspeed started to decay, and when he was about 350 feet above the ground, the aircraft banked more than 50 degrees to the right and dove down wings level until it impacted the water, killing him instantly.
We've all been there.
Ay,
Plenty
ay,
website
ay.
structures can
Ay, ay, ay.
There were 3 major discoveries after the crash that you need to know about, but there was also something that the NTSB didn't talk about that I think could have saved Roy. First, based on a detailed analysis of the GPS and the engine data, the NTSB wasn't able to definitively confirm that Roy stalled the aircraft. Rather, the final report just said that he failed to maintain control of the aircraft while performing aggressive maneuvers at low altitude, but I'd argue that it doesn't really matter whether he stalled the airplane or not, he never should have been flying it. Second of all, and this is something that I didn't mention earlier, but the aircraft was equipped with an airframe parachute system that Roy could have used if he lost control of the aircraft after finding himself in a nose-high, low airspeed situation just a few hundred feet above the water. All he had to do was pull the handle to deploy the parachute, but the only problem was that he hadn't removed the safety pin per the checklist, so even if he did try to deploy the parachute, it wasn't going to work. And the third and perhaps most important thing that you need to know is that Roy struggled with alcohol going as far back as 2001, 16 years prior to the crash. His alcohol problems continued during his baseball career, and chronic pain eventually led to a drug addiction that he went to rehab for in 2013 and again in 2015, 2 years prior to the crash. An autopsy later revealed that Roy had morphine, amphetamine, antidepressants, Ambien, and opioids in his system when he crashed, meaning he was in no condition to operate an aircraft. That brings us to the one thing that I would argue could have saved Roy, and it makes me sad because despite the fact that many considered him to be one of the best baseball pitchers of his generation, he was also a husband, a father, and a friend to many. But deep down inside, he had a lot of internal struggles. And until he had those problems under control, someone should have said, no, you're not flying an airplane because it's not worth the risk. Now, don't take that the wrong way. I'm not blaming his family for what happened. Roy was responsible for his own actions. But the point I'm trying to make is that as tragic as this was, my only hope is that if you know a pilot that is struggling with drugs or alcohol, you'll do whatever you can to keep them from flying, but just as important, also take the time to make sure they get the help they need. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thanks for your support.
Oh, that was tragic. Like many of these stories. But there you have it. There you have it. If you're not subscribed to Pilot Debrief, make sure you take yourself over to the YouTube and get yourself subscribed with them, with Hoover, because he's got some great videos. And another final call for the episode. If you want to get yourself a cool blue Live Your Dream hat, classic black, or my favorite, the white one, drop in the chat, in the comment section, Live Your Dream, and you will be entered into a draw that will be done in October, first show of October. We've got a few people already in the draw, so don't miss out your opportunity to get one of these. I'm actually working on a second design, so hopefully that will be out sometime soon. I will let you guys know when that is out. But for now, these are the official Live Your Dream Future Pilot 901 hats. I think I need to find a. I've been considering spray paint in the bottom side here, and considering where I would put Future Pilot 901 because it just says Live Your Dream at the moment. But I need to put some branding on it. But yeah, that's it for today. It's been a good day. It's been a good day, and it's another opportunity, another week, another chance to go after our dreams, and that is always a good thing. Right? Let's see. If you want to say anything in the chat, this is your final opportunity to identify yourself. Make yourself known to us. Otherwise, we shall draw nigh to the end of this show. Yeah, I got issues, guys. I don't know if you've noticed, but I tried to keep that. I tried to keep it down, keep it quiet, but every now and then it pops up, and I be crazy. Anywho, all right. Well, that seems like that's it for today. Remember, Future Pilot 901 Live is brought to you every Monday, 7 p.m. British Summer Time on Kick and YouTube. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, hit that notification bell, and hopefully, should everything go well, see you next week for episode 12. Until next time, my name is Dee. This is Future Pilot 901, reminding you to live your dream. Peace. Love y'all.
Man, from living in my car to finally getting my trial flight done.
Hold it.
To being in this moment. Hey, come on. Well done. Was it worth the sacrifice? Oh, man.
Golf 83.
Pull back. Maybe pull back more. Hold it there. Pull back.
Switching to Southern radar 130.
A bit more.
Listen. Was it worth the sacrifice?
So, power right on. Center line.
Listen, if you have a dream, it's down to you to make it happen, man. You might give it everything and it might still not work, but guess what? The journey makes you a better, stronger person. Can you imagine what kind of person you would become if you didn't pursue the one thing that you thought was the best thing in the world? You didn't pursue it. What kind of person does that make you after 20, 30 years of doing that? But when you chase what you believe is the most valuable, the most beautiful, the most awesome thing that you can do, and you give it everything, win or lose, you become a better person.